The snow fell in silent swirls, cloaking the world outside my parents' house in suburban Chicago, where the soft pulse of Christmas carols leaked from the glowing windows. I stood in the yard, my boots sinking into the icy crust, my heart heavy with a loneliness that cut deeper than the winter chill. I'm Maris, 36 years old, and I'd come expecting a night of family warmth, but a bitter truth was clawing its way to the surface. My parents had banned my children, Zoe and Liam, from their holiday table, while rolling out the red carpet for my brother's kids. I'd poured years into a family savings plan they swore was for our shared future, only to uncover they'd siphoned it to fund my brother's lavish life while dismissing my kids as unworthy. This is the story of how I played a secret recording to expose their lies, reclaimed my strength, and learned what family truly means. The house buzzed with festive energy. My mother, Diane, was arranging a tray of gingerbread, her smile strained like a brittle thread. My father, Paul, was pouring wine, his face a mask of forced calm. My younger sister, Sophie, 30 years old and home from her nursing job, was hanging stockings, her laughter dimming when she saw me lingering in the cold. My husband, Mark, stood beside me, his breath fogging the air, his quiet strength a lifeline. I brushed snow from my coat, the carols, jingle bells, grating against the dread pooling in my chest, a reminder of the joy I was being denied. I stepped inside, the warmth hitting me like a false promise as relatives, uncles, cousins, friends, offered quick hugs. The living room was cozy, with plaid throws and a tree twinkling with red ornaments. I was folding my scarf when my mother pulled me into the kitchen, her voice a hushed blade. "Maris, we need to talk about tonight's setup." I frowned, glancing at Mark, whose jaw tightened. "What's up?" I asked. My father joined us, his eyes dodging mine. "This is a special night," he said, his tone flat. "We want it peaceful, adult-focused. No kids causing a ruckus." My heart plummeted. "No kids at all?" I asked, my voice sharp. My mother hesitated, her lips pursed. "Well, not exactly," she said. "Ryan and Emma are bringing their boys, Ethan and Noah. They're well-behaved, you know. But Zoe and Liam," she trailed off, and a cold knot twisted in my chest, sharp and unforgiving. "What about Zoe and Liam?" I pressed, my voice edged with fury. My father sighed, as if I were the problem. "They're too wild, Maris. Always climbing, yelling, it's not the vibe we want. Get a sitter." The word struck like a frozen blade, piercing my core. Zoe was 9, Liam was 6, energetic, yes, but sweet, curious souls who lived for their grandparents' holiday tales. I gripped the counter, my fingers trembling, my chest tight with betrayal. "So Ryan's kids are fine, but mine aren't?" My mother's voice was soft, patronizing. "It's not personal, honey. We just want a quiet night." Sophie overheard, her voice cutting through. "That's not fair," she said. "Zoe and Liam are wonderful. You can't exclude them." My father's glare silenced her. "This is our house, Sophie. Our call." I looked at Mark, his eyes blazing with the same rage and hurt that burned in me. "They're children," I said, my voice trembling. "They adore you. How can you call them a problem?" My mother's tone turned curt. "Don't be dramatic, Maris. You and Mark are welcome. Just leave the kids at home." The absurdity was suffocating. They wanted me there, but not my children, the heart of my existence. I straightened, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside. "If Zoe and Liam aren't welcome, neither are we." I grabbed my coat, Mark's hand on my shoulder, Sophie's worried Maris, fading as we stepped into the snow. The cold stung my face, but a vow took root: this wasn't just about Christmas. They were hiding something, and I'd unearth it. The drive home was silent, the car's headlights slicing through the snowy dark. Zoe and Liam were with a friend, oblivious to the rejection, and I'd shield them from that pain. But my parents' words, *2 wild*, echoed like a cruel taunt, each syllable a fresh wound. I'd given everything to this family, believing sacrifice was love. Now, I saw cracks in that belief, and I needed to know how deep they ran. Growing up in Chicago, our family was my bedrock. Weekends meant tinkering in the garage with my father, winding old clocks, sanding wobbly chairs, rewiring broken lamps, Ryan, Sophie, and me passing him tools, giggling when screws rolled under the workbench. Evenings were spent at the kitchen table, my mother guiding us to fix small gadgets, her steady hands a quiet lesson in care. Once, we spent hours restoring a vintage record player, its scratchy tunes filling the house with pride. Another time, we patched a cracked rocking chair, joking it was Grandma's throne. When storms hit, we'd huddle with flashlights, repairing toy cars with tape and laughter. Those moments were my compass, the reason I kept pouring myself into this family even when it started to unravel. The unraveling began when I was 29, and my parents' finances collapsed. My father, a retired electrician, had sunk money into bad stocks, and my mother, a part-time seamstress, earned just enough for her craft fairs. Their debts mounted, and creditors loomed. I just started as a project manager, working long hours to build a life with Mark, who I'd married at 28. When they faced foreclosure, they pitched a family savings plan to secure our future. I contributed $30,000, believing it was for all of us. It wasn't a loan, they never mentioned repayment. It was for the family legacy, as my mother put it, her words wrapping around me like a promise. Over the years, my contributions ballooned. I paid off $20,000 of their car loans when payments lapsed, covered their utilities during a lean year, and funded Sophie's nursing school when her loans ran dry. I worked weekends, canceled date nights, and delayed saving for Zoe and Liam's college to keep my parents afloat. They never thanked me. My father would grunt, "You're helping out," while my mother smiled and asked for a bit more for taxes or insurance. I thought I was proving my love, stitching the family together. They saw me as a bottomless vault. Meanwhile, Ryan, my older brother, was untouchable. At 40, he was a sales executive with a polished life. His wife, Emma, a marketer, and their boys, Ethan and Noah, were perfect, according to my parents. Ryan never had to contribute. When he visited, my parents carved out hours for Ethan and Noah, playing chess or watching movies, while Zoe and Liam got quick nods or leftover snacks. I remember Liam's face, crumpled with hurt, when my mother skipped his soccer game but attended Ethan's piano recital. Or the birthday when Noah got a drone, Ethan a gaming console, and Zoe and Liam shared a used puzzle, its pieces warped. Another time, my father spent a weekend teaching Ethan to fix a clock but brushed off Zoe's request to join. I told myself it was oversight, that they loved all their grandkids equally. I was wrong. The red flags grew bolder last year. My parents pushed me to top up the savings plan, claiming it was for family emergencies. I'd send thousands, $6,000 for home repairs, $5,000 for medical costs. But then I'd see them post photos from a European tour or sporting new watches. Once, I overheard my mother on the phone with Ryan, saying, "Maris's plan is covering your new place, so you're fine." Sophie noticed it, too. One afternoon, as we rewired a broken lamp in her apartment, she said, "They're always desperate when they call you, but never with Ryan. It's not right, Maris. You're carrying them alone." I brushed it off, clinging to the hope that family meant unity, that my sacrifices mattered. That hope shattered at Christmas. The morning after the party, I woke with my mother's words, *2 wild*, cutting like shards of glass, each one a fresh stab of betrayal. Zoe and Liam were in the backyard, building a snowman, their giggles a fragile shield against the hurt. They didn't know their grandparents had rejected them, and I'd protect them from that wound. I waited until my parents left for a charity brunch, leaving Sophie at their house. She was in the living room, studying charts, but sat up when I knelt beside her, my voice barely a whisper. "Sophie, do you know why they banned Zoe and Liam?" She hesitated, her eyes shadowed with worry. "I heard them talking to Ryan," she said. "They said his boys are polished and your kids are chaotic. And Mom mentioned a new condo for Ryan. I think they're using your money for him." That was the spark I needed. I slipped into my parents' basement, a cluttered maze of boxes and the faint tang of motor oil. My mother kept an old phone in a drawer, a relic she used for backups. I knew her PIN, her birth year, 1962. My hands shook as I powered it on and found a voice memo app with a file labeled Family Plan. Inside was a recording of my parents and Ryan, their voices sharp and damning. Maris's savings are covering the condo, $100,000, my father said, his tone smug. She won't notice. My mother added, Ryan's boys are our focus. Zoe and Liam are too much. Ryan laughed, a cold chuckle. Keep her busy, and she'll keep paying. The recording was a gut punch, revealing they'd diverted $320,000 of my contributions over 7 years, loans, utilities, Sophie's school, to Ryan's condo, European tours, and a new car. I'd been funding Ryan's luxury while my parents dismissed my kids to keep me compliant, their rejection a calculated move to avoid questions. I sank to the floor, the phone trembling in my hands, my breath ragged with the weight of their betrayal. I wanted to storm their house and scream, but I knew my father would lie, and my mother would cry. I needed a plan, something undeniable. I saved the recording to a secure drive, snapped photos of the phone, and replaced it with care, my heart pounding like a drum. Then I called my best friend, Tara, a paralegal who'd always questioned my parents' crises. Tara, I said, my voice cracking, they're using my savings to bankroll Ryan while banning my kids. I need you. She was at my house in 45 minutes, her eyes blazing as I played the recording, her hands clenched in fury. Maris, this is embezzlement, she said, pacing the kitchen. They're not just excluding Zoe and Liam, they're robbing you to pamper Ryan. You need to stop this. She suggested gathering more proof, receipts, texts, anything to bolster the recording. And go public, she added, her voice fierce. Play it at a family gathering. Let them face the truth in front of everyone. Over the next 2 weeks, I turned into a detective, my resolve hardening with each piece of evidence. I collected receipts showing every payment, every loan, every emergency I'd covered, each one a reminder of their greed. I found texts from my mother, Maris, the plan needs $5,000 for repairs. Can you send it? Or from my father, we're short again. Help us out. Each message was a lie, a fresh cut. Sophie helped, digging through my parents' emails on their shared laptop, her fingers flying with determination. One email showed my mother planning a family gift for Ryan's boys, paid with my money. Maris won't check, she wrote, her words a slap. Sophie was livid, her voice trembling. They're playing us both, Maris. I'm all in. Tara connected me with Emma, Ryan's wife, who'd always been kind but distant. Over tea at her sleek office, she handed me a folder of bank statements, her expression grim. Ryan bragged about his new condo last year, she said, her voice low. These show your funds paid for it. I didn't know, Maris. I thought it was his bonus. Use them. I hugged her, tears stinging my eyes, gratitude mixing with pain. Emma was my unexpected ally, a bridge I hadn't expected to cross. I planned a confrontation by playing the recording at a family gathering a week after Christmas, my heart set on justice. I spent days preparing, backing up the recording, and gathering supporting evidence, each step fueling my courage. The night before, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at Zoe's snowman sketches, Liam asleep upstairs, their innocence afire in my chest. The gingerbread I'd planned to bring to my parents' party was long gone, a faded symbol of the love I'd once believed in. I tucked the sketches away, ready to fight for my kids, my hands steady with purpose. The gathering took place at my aunt's house, a warm space with garlands draping the walls and a fireplace crackling with life. Relatives filled the living room, sharing cocoa and holiday gossip, their laughter a stark contrast to the storm brewing in me. I stood by a Bluetooth speaker, the recording queued on my phone, Tara managing a family group chat to share the evidence. Sophie sat nearby, clutching Emma's statements, her eyes fierce. Mark was there, his steady presence grounding me like an anchor in a tempest. My parents and Ryan arrived, assuming it was a post-holiday catch-up, their smiles oblivious. My father sat smugly, my mother fidgeted, and Ryan crossed his arms, his eyes cold as ice. Maris, my mother said, her tone sugary, let's not dwell on Christmas. We're family. Ryan nodded, his voice clipped. You're blowing this out of proportion, as usual. I pressed play, the speaker crackling to life, cutting through the room's chatter. Everyone, this is my story, I said, my voice steady, though my heart raced. I'm Maris, and for 7 years, I've contributed $320,000 to a family savings plan for loans, utilities, and Sophie's education. I thought it was for all of us. But my parents banned my kids, Zoe and Liam, from Christmas, while inviting Ryan's kids. Listen to why. The recording played my father's voice, smug and clear. Maris's savings are covering the condo, $100,000. She won't notice. My mother's voice followed, cold and dismissive. Ryan's boys are our focus. Zoe and Liam are too much. The room froze, gasps rippling through the crowd. My father's face drained of color, his eyes wide with panic. That's fake, he shouted, his voice cracking. My mother gasped, her hands trembling, tears spilling. Ryan leaned forward, his face twisted. You're lying. I held up Emma's statements, showing $100,000 to Ryan, my voice unwavering. These are my funds. But they funded your new life. I shared a receipt, my mother's own words glaring. Maris's plan covers Ryan's condo. She won't check. Relatives murmured, shock turning to outrage. The group chat exploded, cousins texting, this is disgusting. Maris, we're behind you. An uncle whispered, I saw Ryan's new car last month. A cousin muttered, they bragged about Europe at the club. My mother collapsed into sobs, her voice breaking. Maris, we didn't mean to hurt you. My father lunged for the speaker, his hands clawing to smash it, but Mark stepped in, his voice a low growl. Back off. Ryan stood, his voice venomous. You're destroying our family. I replayed the recording, highlighting texts about their tours and Ryan's car, each word a hammer. You banned my kids to keep me quiet, I said, my voice cracking with raw pain. You used me while favoring Ryan's boys. The chat hit 80 recipients, uncles, cousins, neighbors, commenting, I saw Ryan's new car. Maris paid for their trip. A great-aunt shook her head, muttering, shameful. My father's mask shattered, his voice a desperate roar. You're ruining us. It was the closest he'd come to admitting the truth, his admission hanging in the air. Ryan stormed out, muttering about disloyalty, his footsteps heavy. Tara sent the recording to the family, saving the statements, her fingers flying. The fallout was immediate. Relatives unfollowed my parents online, neighbors whispered in grocery aisles, and their craft fair group shunned them. My mother posted a tearful apology on social media, we made mistakes, but Maris is exaggerating. I shared the recording in statements, letting the truth burn brighter than her lies. The recording changed everything. Family members sent messages of support, some offering to help with Zoe and Liam's school supplies, their kindness a balm. Tara connected me with a lawyer, Ms. Chen, who used the evidence to file a fraud case, recovering $160,000 of my contributions. My parents tried to spin the narrative, claiming they were struggling, but no one bought it, their credibility in tatters. Ryan distanced himself, his golden image cracked like cheap glass. A month later, my father showed up at our house, pounding on the door, his face red with rage. Maris, you've destroyed us, he yelled. Mark called the police, and I stayed calm, my resolve a steel wall. I filed a restraining order, and the judge granted it, barring my parents from contact. Sophie's life in their house became unbearable. My father blamed her for siding with Maris, while my mother guilt-tripped her with tearful pleas. But Sophie was resilient, working extra shifts at the hospital to save for her own place, her spirit unbroken. I sent her money, and we planned for her to move out at 31. Just hold on, I told her, my voice soft but firm. We're almost there. She smiled, her eyes bright. You're my hero, Maris. 6 months later, Emma called, her voice quiet. Your parents are losing the house, she said. They couldn't pay the bills without you. They're moving to a cheap apartment. I felt a flicker of guilt, a faint echo of the daughter I'd been, but it passed. They'd chosen Ryan over me, over my children, and now they faced the consequences of their greed. Thanks, Emma, I said, my voice steady. I'm done carrying them. A year later, Sophie turned 31. I drove to pick her up, my heart racing as I pulled into the snowy street. The house was a ghost, windows dark, yard choked with weeds, a foreclosure sign staked in the frozen dirt. Sophie stood on the steps, a backpack at her feet, her face resolute, a quiet triumph in her eyes. She didn't look back as we loaded her things into my car, the snow falling like a curtain behind us. You good? I asked, my voice warm. She grinned, her breath visible. Free, finally. Let's go. We drove to our home, a modest duplex with a sunny porch that caught the morning light. I'd set up a room for Sophie, filled with her favorite medical journals and a small lamp we'd fixed together years ago. That night, we ordered pizza with Zoe and Liam, laughing about old garage mishaps, the time we fixed a clock with glue, or when we turned a broken chair into a lopsided masterpiece. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a family, not because of blood, but because of love, of shared battles and unbroken trust. Sophie started a health outreach program, pouring her heart into her passion. I kept working as a project manager but launched a children's creativity class, teaching Zoe, Liam, and local kids to build crafts and weave stories, their laughter a new kind of music. The classes became my sanctuary, a place where I could breathe. I'd guide Zoe and Liam through making paper lanterns or writing short tales, their eyes sparkling with pride as they held up their creations. It wasn't just a class, it was a promise to my kids that they'd always be enough, that their light would never be dimmed. My parents' lives collapsed, their choices catching up like a storm. The bank took the house, and they moved to a rundown apartment, their social circle gone, their names whispered with pity. Emma said they tried to reach me through cousins, begging for forgiveness. I didn't respond. I'd given them 7 years of my life, my savings, my trust, and they'd repaid me with betrayal. I owed them nothing, and that truth was my freedom. 2 years later, Mark, Zoe, Liam, Sophie, and I sat in our backyard, surrounded by handmade lanterns that glowed in the dusk. Sophie had just expanded her outreach program, her face lit with purpose. I'd opened a second creativity class, watching kids like Zoe and Liam discover their own voices. Maris, Sophie said, her voice soft, I used to think family meant enduring everything, no matter the cost. You showed me it's about who respects you, who fights for you, who sees your worth. I'm so glad we're a team. I hugged her, tears welling in my eyes, my heart full. Me too, Sophie. We're enough. Looking back, I see that walking away was the hardest choice I ever made, but it saved me. I learned that family isn't who shares your blood, it's who shares your light, who stands by you in the dark. I learned that setting boundaries is how you protect your children and yourself, a shield forged from love. And I learned that sometimes, to find peace, you have to let go of the people who dim your shine, even if they raised you. My parents thought they could control me, but I took back my power, and I'm holding it tight, a beacon for my kids and myself. What do you think? Have you ever had to choose your kids over family? Maybe you faced a lie that forced you to redefine love, to redraw the lines of your life. Share your story in the comments, I'd love to hear it. If this resonated, smash that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories of courage and redemption. Thanks for being here.